In this video, we're going to be solving for x of this problem using the quadratic formula. So the first thing we need to do is we need to recognize that we can use the quadratic formula to solve problems when they're in a specific format, okay? So we do have that format in this case, and it follows this form: ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And the solution, the actual quadratic formula, is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and this whole thing is over 2a. Okay? Now, these letters here, a, b, and c, see how they're coming from this standard format? What we can do is we can apply this standard format to our given question, figure out what the A, B, and C would be in our given question, and then take those values and plug them directly into this quadratic formula, and then simply solve for x if there are any solutions to be found. Okay? Now, we use the quadratic formula when it's not simple to just factor and find the solutions for x. Or you can even use it if you're not very good at factoring, or maybe you've forgotten how to factor. If there are solutions for x, the quadratic formula will always give them to you. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this. So first thing we want to do is identify our a, b, and c terms. So when we look at our given question, a would be the number term here in front of the x squared. We can't see anything there, which means there's a 1 there, okay? It's just an implied 1. We can multiply anything in math by 1 and the number will stay the same, okay? So we're going to say a equals 1. Now let's find b. B is this term in front of the x. Now notice there's a plus sign here, or a positive. So we need to look at the sign here. If it's not positive, this sign is going to be part of our b term, okay? So what this means is b is equal to negative 3, not positive 3, right? Because there's a plus sign here. So this b has to be negative 3, all right? Finally, what is our c term? Same thing, there's a plus sign here. So if it's different in our given question, and it's negative, we need to make sure that negative is part of our number, or part of our c term. So in this case, it's negative 10, so our c is negative 10, okay? Now, the reason we wanted our a, b, and c was so that we could plug them into this quadratic formula. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to have x equals negative b. Our b is negative 3. So I put the negative on the outside, and now I'm going to put my negative 3 inside these brackets. Okay, that's my b. We're going to have our plus or minus. Let's do our square root. It's pretty big. We have a b squared. Okay, so we've got our negative 3 is our b. That's going to have to square. We're going to get a negative 4. Then we have our a term, which we see as a 1. We have our c term, which we can see as a negative 10. Okay, and then don't forget this whole thing was over 2a. So we can write 2. And then our a term, once again, was a 1. Okay, let's simplify. Let's see what we have. Well, we have negative 3 times a negative. Well, negative times a negative is simply a positive. So we have 3. We've got our plus or minus. Let's do this. And under our square root, we're still going to have some terms. We've got negative 3 squared. Well, negative 3 squared is simply negative 3 times negative 3, which is going to be a positive 9. That's going to be minus 4 times 1 times negative 10. Okay, well, 1 times negative 10 is just negative 10. Negative 10 times negative 4 is actually going to be a positive 40, okay? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. When we look at our denominator, we have 2 times 1, which is simply 2. Let's keep going. So the 3 is going to stay the same. Plus minus stays the same. The denominator, the 2, stays the same. Now we just have to look underneath our square root. We have 9 plus 40. So we have square root of 49. Now we can simplify a bit further here. We're going to have 3 plus or minus over the 2, this square root of 49. Well, 49 is a perfect square, right? 7 times 7 equals 49. So we can pull that out of our square root. That gives us 7. Okay, what does this mean? We have 3 plus or minus 7, all divided by 2. Okay, it means we have two possible solutions, or two solutions, all right? So what are these two solutions? Well, we're going to have x equals 3 plus 7 over 2, or we're going to have x equals 3 minus 7 over 2. Okay, we can solve both of these. 3 plus 7 is 10, so we get 10 over 2, and we can reduce that to just 5. We also have 3 minus 7, which is minus 4 or negative 4 over 2. We can reduce that to negative 2. Okay, so we have two solutions here. We have x is equal to 5 and x is equal to negative 2. And that's the answer. If you would like to learn how to quickly study for your GED exam online and get a new resume, then visit testprepskills.com.